The monarch's declaration to leave the throne in his year-end speech raised many questions. Analyze before and after his abdication. The decision took everyone by surprise, including the country's journalists, who had to go to work in full force when they heard from the monarch's voice that she was handing over the throne to her eldest son. A decision that means that Princess Frederick and Mary of Denmark will become kings in just 2 weeks, but it implies much more than that. Analyze the keys and implications of Margaret II's abdication. The announcement caught locals and visitors by surprise, who had expected the traditional end-of-year speech to be another December 31st. The monarch's last words this year usually dealt with the most important events of the year for the country and for her own family, as well as expressing good wishes for the new year. But this time Margaret used her speech to inform her people that she would be leaving the throne in 2 weeks. Then a number of questions opened up. Some of them will be answered over the next few days on the royal household's own website, especially those concerning the logistics of the change of throne, since as a reference we have the coronation of Carlos III with all the pomp and spectacle. British crown, but for those who follow royal news, we have bad news. The events planned for January 14th next year, when Queen Margrethe leaves the throne, will have nothing to do with the parade of royals and political leaders from around the world that we saw on May 6 at Westminster Abbey. The current monarch will sign his abdication during the Council of State scheduled for that day, and then Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen will proclaim Frederick king on the balcony of Christiansborg, as he did exactly 52 years ago with Margaret. Of course, we cannot ignore the historical nature of the moment for 2 reasons. First, because this is the first time a Danish monarch has abdicated in several centuries. Second, because it is the first time such a statement will be made by a woman at the head of government. It is a matter of course that there will be a carriage parade through the streets of Copenhagen from Christiansborg to Amalienborg to give citizens the opportunity to welcome the new monarch accompanied by the new queen consort. Margaret of Denmark's health is the key to her abdication. This is what she herself admitted in her final speech. In February this year, I underwent extensive back surgery. Everything went well thanks to the skilled medical staff who treated me. Of course, the operation also made me think about the future. Is it time to leave responsibility to the next generation? And this is also supported by the facts. After this surgery, he mentions, his schedule has been significantly reduced, traveling abroad has practically disappeared from his roadmap. In fact, Princes Frederick and Maria were the regular hosts of Kings Felipe and Letizia when they made their state visit to Denmark last November. The question for many is whether Margarethe's health is more serious than one might think at first glance. Until recently, the monarch had rejected the idea of abdication, saying she would only do so if an illness prevented her from taking up her duties as queen. Moreover, if we take into account other nearby monarchies, with long-lived kings retaining the throne despite their logical infirmities of age, one might think that this reversal and the problems that led to it may not be the only reasons that led to this historic decision. The clues that Queen Margrethe gave us about her abdication are there. One thing is clear, this decision was not made overnight. She herself admitted in her speech that she had been thinking about it since February, although she had previously taken certain steps that could have cleared the way for a change of throne. One of them, leaving much of the traveling abroad in the hands of her son and daughter-in-law and gradually reducing her schedule. And we have to go back 2 years to a decision that Frederick of Denmark made that already involved a possible abdication in its current meaning. The future king announced his sudden resignation as an active member of the International Olympic Committee. Held the post for 12 years and for which he was even re-elected in 2017. Another of Queen Margrethe's most significant gestures was the appointment of Princess Mary as regent. The Australian became the first person not related by blood to the dynasty who could play the role of sovereign in case the owners were out of the country or unable to do so. A determination that clearly showed the trust placed in her by the monarch, but it was not only Princess Mary who was included in the list of regents. It is no coincidence that Prince Christian came of age last October and attended his first Council of State a few weeks later. His 18 years automatically make him one of those regents who can make institutional decisions in the absence of the monarch, along with Princess Benedicta, sister of the current queen, and Prince Joachim. Exactly, and due to the coming of age of the one who would become heir in 2 weeks, another decision was made that now takes on special significance. Federico and Mary announced that their eldest son would not receive a state salary until he turned 21, as other members of the royal family of their generation, such as Amalia of Holland or Elizabeth of Belgium, had already done. But there was an exception: the decision could be reversed in the event of a change of throne, which was conveniently provided for in the statement. Did the scandal surrounding Federico's photos with Genevieve Casanova have anything to do with it? This is probably one of the questions that is never publicly clarified by the actors, although from here we dare to make an assessment. First of all, we have to take into account that the Danish royal house practically acted as if the photos did not exist, claiming that they were part of the heir's private life. But in addition, we must also discuss what a change of throne entails on an institutional level. In a woman who has carried her service to Denmark as her flag and never put her husband or children above her obligations, it is hard to think that she has not thought her decision through and that she is leaving the throne in the hands of her heir just to clean up her image. What is more than clear is that, with or without pictures, Mary Donaldson will become Queen Consort of Denmark in 2 weeks' time, accompanying the one who will be King Frederick on his way. Of course, the current monarch will continue to receive medical treatment. His Majesty, as the government has announced, and what the Danish people, among whom he is immensely popular, want, that will surely not change when he leaves his throne in just 2 weeks.